Why does my website not appear on Google? That's a question I get asked a lot. So I'm going to go through some of the answers I give to my clients to help them to answer that question. The first question I ask is actually, what do you want to be found for? Now clearly you want to be found for your business name. That's a good start. But what else do you want to be found for? In what geographical area, and how realistic is that? For example, if you give advice on financial services and you say, I want to be found for mortgage advice in the whole of the UK, if you've got the budget and the time for that, that's great, but you're competing against some really big competition. While if maybe you're thinking, in my local town, and I'm going to search for be found for some particularly niche topics, perhaps that one, but in a very small area, that's quite different. So you need to think about what you're aiming for, what keywords in what geographical areas. That's really important, and you can start to see how you are appearing in those. The next is time. Google indexing is slow. It's not instant. If you updated your website yesterday, that's not going to be reflected in Google today. Yeah, it usually indexes your site about once a month. You can, using something called Google Search Console, ask it to re-index your site. But it's slow. It takes a while. You need to gradually add, gradually improve, and Google will start to move, but certainly not overnight. Effort is another really important one. So, effort, time, and money. Promoting your website is what I'm talking about. Your website needs to be promoted. You need to have paid somebody to put the effort in to get people to your website. They don't get there by magic. They are directed there. How are they directed there? For example, social media. If you've been working hard on social media and you've gained a following, you can start to direct them to some of the really useful content that's on your website. Not direct them to the website to buy, direct them to the really useful, relevant content for them you're building on your website. Then they will start to visit. Then you can start to grow visitor numbers. But if nobody is putting the effort in on social media, you're not spending money on ads, you're not sending out an email list telling people what's on your website, why it's useful and why they would want to visit, then nobody is going to visit. People are not going to stumble across your website by magic. You need to put in the hard work, the time, the effort, or get somebody else to do it, and the money. But it does not happen on its own. Linked to that are visitor numbers, and these two things are linked very closely together, because to get visitor numbers built, you have to spend time directing people to your website. And if you spend time directing people to your website, your visitor numbers grow. As your visitor numbers grow, Google starts to think this website is useful because people are visiting it. And if people are visiting it, Google will start to move it slowly up the rankings, and so more people will visit it. And so it's a catch-22 if you're not directing people to the website, if you're not putting in the money, putting in the time, putting in the effort, directing people to your website, then Google's going to see the visitor numbers are low, and they're going to stay low because then it's not going to move up the Google search. If you're putting in that time and effort or paying somebody else to do it for your visitor numbers to grow, Google sees that the website is useful and starts to move it up the search rankings because it sees other people are finding this website useful, so if lots of people are visiting it must be useful, and directs more and more people, so it starts to grow. Then there's something called backlinks. Okay, this is sort of an SEO term and it's bandied around a lot. What does it mean? It means other websites directing traffic to your website. Nice and simple. This isn't a reciprocal arrangement. This isn't you going to somebody you know and going, look, I'll direct people, put a link in my website to your website. You put a website from your website to mine. Great, and we'll help each other. Google spots those reciprocal links. What it is traffic going one way. So that means there's somebody else on the web, maybe a business, maybe some sort of business directory platform that's linking from them direct to your website because there is useful content on your website. Now, you can start this easily with business directories, get yourself registered on the free business directories, and suddenly there's then links to your website. But you also need to get useful content out there and try and encourage other sites, other platforms to put links in to your site. And the more of those backlinks you get, again, the more Google says, wow, this website is useful. Lots of other sites are directing users to it. If other sites are directing users to it, there must be a reason for that. The content on there must be valuable, therefore I will start to direct people there too. This is kind of what I've been talking about with all the other things, is content. We've talked a lot about all these other points that I've gone through already. Getting visitors is good content. Unless there is good content on your website, nobody is going to visit it. So what do I mean by good content? Clearly you need the sales part of your site. That's really vital, but not initially to get people there. If you're directing people from social media, trying to get people to make that first move towards your website, you want just to be providing them with useful, valuable information. So that means vlogs, blogs, podcasts, information that is useful to them, to visitors, that is not selling to your visitors, that engages them. Once they're there and they're looking at those things, they're looking at your podcast, they're looking at your vlogs, they're looking at your blogs, then you can start to direct them to the sales part of their website and they can start to look. You can start to try and capture information. But the key is content that is valuable to them. So you need lots of content on your website. For all of those other steps to work and to get visitors to your website, you need that valuable content. That is really key, because if you think about all those other steps, they don't work without it. What is the web? What search terms do you want to be found for? Well, you can be putting content in there relevant to those search terms. How much time and effort are you putting into getting visitors to your website? Well, that time and effort is a lot easier if you're directing them to useful, relevant content than if you're directing them to a sales pitch. All the rest of the backlinks, again, if you want backlinks, if you want people to link to your website, they need a reason to do that. And the reason they're going to do that is that there's valuable, relevant content on your website that's useful to them and useful to their readers. So I hope that helps. I hope you got the message about the content you need on your website and also the other steps you need to take. So it's not just the content, the other steps have to be there too, but for those other steps to work, the content really does. And if you go through all of those, then your website will start to appear for Google. And if you plan it carefully with the content you write, then it can start to appear for the relevant search terms you are looking for. I hope that's helpful.